Hello and welcome to this Project in a Box video. I'm Malcolm West, and in this video we're going to be looking at the new project status report. The project status report is a new report template that's been added to the library of standard reports available on the multi-user platforms. That's Small Team Edition, Enterprise Edition and the SaaS Live Edition. And it's a new report that tries to fill a gap between several of the reports we talked about before. We have the standard instant project statement report, so we'll just run that for this project here. You'll see it runs from that button, goes away and selects everything that's required and runs the report. And this is a typically one-page report. It's about a summary of the project fitted into that one page. Obviously, if you've got very long descriptions, it's going to go along a bit further, or many overdue tasks, for example, would push that out as well. But it's fitting onto one page, and that's a really good intro to what's going on with the project. If you wanted a more detailed report, we have Project Weekly Review, and again that's going to be a one button press to run that, and this is a much deeper analysis of the project, and it's returning, as we can see here, a whole much longer report, in this case 12 pages. It uses the information panes here to look at history change on project data. We've got trends showing here. We've got a whole load of detail then on tasks and resourcing and issues and changes and risks and finances and benefits and all those things brought out over the report, and there's a lot there. So if you're going into detailed review of the project, that's going to provide all the information that you need. But there's a sort of middle ground in there, which is about providing a good overview from the very front page, and then a little bit more detail without lots. And to do that, we've put together a new report called the status report. It isn't linked to a button on the diagram, although it could very easily be, and you can choose to do this yourself, of course, when you customize these diagrams. But it's available in the standard specification. Here we are, status report. And then we can run that from the reports menu. And this is bringing us back a 2-page report. It's using a new feature on the multi-user application, which is that these status panes which show history can now be coloured based on the contents. So we're seeing these as on track because they're green or meeting a certain requirement, or they can be coloured based on the number or the date that's sat within them. So here we have numbers, and we have something like risk levels of below 10 are going to be green, and between 10 and 30 are going to be orange, and then above that it's going to be red, for example. Or the same with impact costs or benefits delivered. Things within a certain boundary will deliver a certain sort of colour. And so we're seeing that on the front page of the report, a really nice clear set of metrics which are showing us the key data for that project. We're also bringing out commentaries and some of the other key statistics, and on the front page finishing off with a finances timeline and a risk heat map, so we can get a pretty good indication from the front page roughly where we are with the project, which direction the finances, what do the risks look like, are there any colourful indicators of problems areas on the project. And then on the second page we have some more detail, so we can see that roughly laid out there, and I'm just going to then zoom in to get some of that available to us. So we've got a timeline for the project. Again, we haven't gone full detail. It's about the summary of the main summary groups of tasks within the project. We've got a list of overdue tasks, the financial summary, so the actual numbers broken down by the summary groups within the project. And that's showing us both the budget cost, the progress cost, and the actual costs for the project. And then we've got top 10 risks and issues and a summary of the benefits. Now in this case, that's fitting onto a second page. It may sometimes, of course, go out onto a third page if we have 10 risks and issues, if we have a number of overdue tasks, if we have a more complicated plan, of course, that will push out. In this case, it fits nicely on 2 pages, and for many projects it will. Some projects it might push out to 3 or even 4. But it's about finding a sensible middle ground between a very quick report and a very long report. So this is what we've designed that fits in the middle, of course, because these are all customizable and changeable. You can alter them yourself. So you can change the logos in them, you can change the indicators that are used here and the colour schemes, and what you consider to be the colour background that you get at different risk levels or for different statuses or for different benefit levels, etc. And of course you can change in and out the analysis blocks if you want to. If you wanted to have an issue chart here or a risk profile showing here instead of finances, you can do those things. And that's because whilst we have these saved report specifications and you can grab an exact definition of a particular type of report and run it for that project, you can also customize these within this interface here. Obviously you have to have the right permissions to do that, but you could come to here and change those aspects. And it's this new feature here that's allowing us to do that. So for example, if we look at the risk status, and this is, say, using the value panel, and this determines the size and layout and text colors, etc., of the text that's appearing. And then the color can either be a fixed color or it can use the value map. And here we can see when the entry is green, it's going to use a color green, and when it's amber, it's going to use the orange color, and red, it's going to use the red color. And it has a value associated with those, and that handles the direction arrow. So if you're moving up from your project being red to amber, it's going up a number, so it'll show the arrow going up, and if it comes down from green to amber, it'll show a downward direction on that display arrow. And of course the same thing applies to the color bands for numbers. So we talked about a risk score, for example. So if we edit the risk score 1 and have a look at the values here, we can see anything up to 10 is going to be a green, and anything between 10 and 30 is a orange, and anything above 30 is going to give us a red. Pretty straightforward to set these up and to understand what you're going to get with them. And of course you can put in whatever colours you want to into that background. And so you don't have to do that. The other report we looked at, the weekly review, used some fixed colours for the backgrounds, and then it just used the numbers and the arrows to display that. And depending on the look and feel you're wanting for the report, you can choose either of those options. So this report is obviously picking up on that new feature, and also a different collection of analytics going into that particular report. And like I say, it forms part of the set of report specifications. These are the project ones. We've got the same for portfolio and for multi-portfolio and for users, etc. Now, of course, we've run it here from the Windows application. If we come to the browser interface, we've got exactly the same thing going on again. Again, we have those other 2 reports on the buttons here. If I come to other reports, I get my dashboard. I've got my status report here. And always when we're running these in the browser, we get a browser-friendly version of that report delivered to us first. So it has produced me a Word report, which I can then open if I want to. And if we do that, in fact, we'll see that that looks exactly the same as the Word report we got produced when we ran it from the Windows application. But if we think about running this, for example, on a phone or a tablet, we may not have Word present to open the Word version. So it gives us a HTML version first, same content, not laid out quite as nicely perhaps, but it is exactly the same content, showing here the same lists. Obviously, it's always running on the latest data, so if anything had changed, we'd see a change in them here. But it's giving exactly the same bits of analysis in roughly the same layout into the browser, so we can see it straight away. So that's the report, and that's the way it works. We've shown it to a few people already, and it seems to be quite a popular, like I say, space between the 1-page and the sort of 12-page report. And like I say, if everything's not exactly how you want it, you can change and tweak those analyses yourself, but it's providing you with a starting place from which you can do that rather than having to come up with all of that yourself. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. There are more detailed videos on many of the other reports available as well, and links to those will be in the description below. Thank you very much.